It's Monday, February 16th. In the headlines, Sigma Run exceeds $150 million target. In business news, business leaders warn against new taxes. Regionally, Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley says it's time to get to work after her historic electoral victory. And in sports, Windies crushed Nepal to secure a spot in the T20 World Cup Super 8s. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Schools in the West that suffered damage during the passage of Hurricane Melissa are set to benefit from $152 million raised from the 2026 staging of the Sagicor Sigma Corporate Run. The event, which was held on Sunday in Kingston, exceeded its ambitious $150 million target for beneficiaries. The schools are listed: Hopewell High School in Hanover, Green Pond High School in St. James, Little London High School in Westmoreland, Salt Marsh Primary and Infant School in Trelawney, and Mayfield Primary and Infant School in St. Elizabeth. President and CEO of Sagicor Group Jamaica and Chairman of Sagicor Foundation Jamaica, Christopher Zaka, describes the accomplishment as a powerful reflection of national unity. Players in the digital industry are calling for clarity on the government's plan to introduce a tax on digital services and intangibles that are provided by international entities. Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Favour Williams, shared the plan in Parliament last Thursday.
This measure forms part of ongoing efforts to modernize the tax system and provide fairness in an increasingly digital economy. Digital services now form a growing share of everyday consumption by Jamaican households and businesses. Many of these services are supplied by non-resident providers with no physical presence in Jamaica, resulting in inconsistent application of GCT under existing arrangement.
Under this principle, GCT applies where a service is consumed rather than where the supplier is located. Speaking on RJR, President of the Jamaica Technology and Digital Alliance, Armando Cox, noted that with digital services covering a wide area, it would be helpful for the Ministry of Finance to give details on the direction in which the government is moving, so stakeholders can be better prepared. Similarly, Deputy President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Cecil Foster, declared that not enough information has been shared about the tax. The tax is projected to generate approximately $300 million in the first instance, beginning in the fourth quarter of the 2026-2027 fiscal year. The fourth quarter covers January to March 2027.
The measure is expected to yield in the first instance starting in the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2026-2027, because there's an implementation curve that we have to go up, and we're expecting $300 million in the first instance, but as it is fully implemented in the financial year 2027-2028, we would expect $4.2 billion.
Opposition candidate Paul Buchanan has lost his bid to challenge the outcome of the St. Andrew West Central constituency race in September's general election, which was won by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. Mr. Buchanan, representing the People's National Party, had sought permission to pursue a judicial review of the constituted authority's decision not to refer the matter to the election court to void the September 3 poll. In a ruling, delivered by Supreme Court Justice Sonia Wint-Blair. She noted that the application was not arguable and said it was effectively defeated by what she described as, quote, a knockout blow, end quote, in law. The judge says even if the court granted the orders compelling the constituted authority to refer the matter, the outcome would be void because the law prevents the court from extending the time set by Parliament for such electoral challenges. The statutory period for the constituted authority to apply to the election court to void the taking of a poll is 14 days from the date the poll was taken. As we continue to celebrate Black History Month, reporter Marlon Samuels highlights William Robinson Robbie Clark, a trailblazer whose courage broke barriers in the air and changed history.
In a time when racial barriers were firmly in place, one Jamaican broke through to soar above the skies. William Robbie Clark, born in Kingston, became the first black pilot to fly for Britain during World War I. He was born in Kingston, Jamaica, on October 4, 1895, to Egbert and Eugenia Clark. Driven by a sense of duty to mother country, he paid his own way to Britain to enlist at 19 years of age. He joined the Royal Flying Corps on July 26, 1915, initially serving as a driver and a mechanic. By April 26, 1917, he had earned his pilot wings, Royal Aero Club Aviator Certificate number 4837, and was promoted to sergeant. Soon after, he began flying combat missions over Belgium.
For us, his bravery was shown where he was actually navigating a flight, was shot down and managed to land the plane safely. And then after that, he retired from active duty.
Returning home, Robbie built a life in Jamaica, working in construction and remaining a proud veteran. He became the life president of the Jamaica branch of the Royal Air Forces Association, which is located at Curfew Place, Solarfield, Kingston 5. William Robbie Clark passed away in 1981, buried here at Up Park Camp. His story, long forgotten, was rediscovered through photographs and archives, reminding us of a trailblazer who defied the odds. A pioneer in the skies and a symbol of courage, William Clark's legacy soars beyond borders, inspiring generations to come. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
Time now for the Business Report with Denise Williams.
Welcome to today's Business Report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing you the developments shaping markets, capital access, and business decision-making across Jamaica and the region. Let's get into the stories that matter. Members of the business community are warning that new taxes coming after Hurricane Melissa could slow economic recovery and place an additional strain on already struggling businesses. The concern follows comments from Finance Minister Fayval Williams that tax increases are necessary to help plug the fiscal gap created by the storm. Fosrich CEO and Vice President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Cecil Foster, told RJR News that additional taxes will be burdensome for businesses and consumers still trying to recover from the hurricane. Garnet Reed, President of the Small Business Association of Jamaica, argues that the sector, already under pressure from the storm, is in no position to absorb new taxes. He says small operators urgently need access to affordable financing to rebuild and expand, not higher costs. Meanwhile, Senior Investment Advisor at Mayberry Investment Group, Christopher Thomas, says tax increases could further weaken the stock market, which is still recovering from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. He adds that brokers will now have to work harder to protect clients' investments, and he describes this as a contracting environment. For the trading period of February 13, 2026, the most actively traded securities were Trans-Jamaica Highway Limited with 9,477,453 units, representing 32.45% of market sales activities. Wigtown Energy Limited with 5,041,630 units, representing 17.26% of market sales activities. Carreras Limited with 2,335,985 units, represent 8% of market sales activities. Investor activity remained concentrated in transportation, wind energy, and cigarette distribution plays, signaling continued interest in dividend-producing and strategic assets. Turning to the foreign exchange market based on Bank of Jamaica data for February 13, 2026, Forex traders recorded significant activity with strong demand across major currencies. For the US dollar, trading margins reflected steady liquidity, with the US selling at $157.02 and buying at $155.17. For the Canadian dollar, moderate gains supported by $6.97 transaction spreads. The Canadian dollar sold for $117.15 and was bought for $110.18. For the British pound, continued volatility offered short-term trading opportunities of $7.10 in profits for the banks. The British pound sold for $215.89 and was bought for $208.79. These movements underscore the importance of cash flow timing and currency awareness for businesses managing import costs, debt servicing, or overseas exposure. For our credit report tip of the day, a credit report is a tool, not a judgment. Debt and credit worthiness are different. Debt is what you owe, while credit worthiness shows how reliably you manage money. Many people avoid their credit out of shame, but that avoidance often makes problems worse. When you treat your credit report like an asset, you check it, fix errors, and use it carefully to open future opportunities. Managed well, credit creates options and flexibility. It reflects what you do next, not what happened in the past. And that's today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing clarity to capital markets and strategy. Until next time, stay informed, stay intentional, and keep building forward. See you soon.
In regional news, Prime Minister Mia Mottley says it's time to get to work. Fresh off a historic third consecutive 30-0 victory for the Barbados Labour Party, she is pledging swift action to deliver on campaign commitments. The Prime Minister also urged Barbadians to partner with her administration in building a stronger nation. She made the appeal during victory celebrations at the National Botanical Gardens. CBC News' Akeem Klinkett reports.
Thousands gathered at the National Botanical Gardens as the Barbados Labour Party and its supporters celebrated a historic third straight 30-0 victory at the polls. Addressing supporters, Prime Minister Mia Mottley reaffirmed her commitment to deliver on the promises made during the election campaign. She said she and her 30 members of Parliament will work tirelessly to execute the party's manifesto and serve the people of Barbados. The Prime Minister also called on citizens and residents to partner with government to fulfill those commitments and strengthen the nation.
We commit to continuing to stop poor people from being poor. We commit to fight injustice wherever it is. We commit to trying to provide as many opportunities for as many of you, especially those who are young. Because if we don't create the opportunities for you, you will not want to stay in this country to build it out. So I say to you that there are some things that as government we can and must do. And there's some things that you as citizens, the highest office in the land, that we need you to step up, stand up and step up to the plate and work with us hand in hand.
Prime Minister Motley further pledged closer collaboration with the social partnership, stressing that employment laws and fairness for workers will remain a priority.
We commit to working with the social partnership. You need strong unions to represent you as workers in this country, to be able to continue to make sure that your job can be done in a decent way and in a dignified way with proper terms and conditions. At the same time, we need businesses, because if businesses don't exist, either for you as a self-employed person or for you as an employee, we will not be able to grow the country.
And 3 terms in, Ms. Motley says her administration remains focused on making Barbados one of the most resilient small island developing states in the world.
Because our mission is to transform Barbados and to make ourselves capable of delivering world-class service and capable of being one of the strongest and most resilient small states on the planet Earth. And if we can agree to that, I tell you that opportunities will come. I tell you that greater will our nation grow. I tell you that we will make life better and easier for you.
The celebration featured performances by Barbadian artists, with all 30 members of Parliament in attendance. Akeem Plinkett, CBC News.
Guyana has recorded a slight improvement on the Global Corruption Index, but concerns remain about weak accountability and growing pressure on journalists and civil society. The latest report from Transparency International ranks Guyana 84th out of 184 countries, warning that limited enforcement and attacks on dissent risk undermining even modest gains. The details in this report.
Guyana is now ranked 84th out of 184 countries, scoring 40 out of 100, a 1-point increase from last year. While the report notes a slight improvement, it stresses that progress remains fragile and largely cosmetic without deeper institutional reform. Crucially, the report highlights attacks on journalists, activists, and dissenting voices as a growing concern. It states that although Guyana has created anti-corruption laws and institutions, transparency and law enforcement remain low, while intimidation of independent media and civil society is increasingly common conditions that weaken public oversight and allow corruption to persist. Across the Americas, the index found no meaningful progress, with the region averaging 42 out of 100. Since 2012, most countries have stagnated or declined. Guyana and the Dominican Republic were among the few showing improvement, but the report cautions that years of government inaction across the region have eroded democracy, enabled organized crime, and damaged public services and human rights. For Guyana, the report again flags state capture by economic and political elites, linking it to misappropriation of resources, illicit enrichment, and environmental crime. Transparency International warns that restricting civic space, especially the ability of journalists and NGOs to investigate and challenge abuses, reduces accountability and creates fertile ground for corruption. Regionally, Guyana continues to trail leaders such as Barbados and the Bahamas and remains below several Caribbean neighbors, despite now edging past Suriname. The report concludes that without bold leadership, strong enforcement, and protection for independent media, corruption will continue to drain public resources and erode trust. For Guyana, it warns that silencing scrutiny rather than strengthening transparency risks reversing even the modest gains now recorded. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
Regional health authorities are monitoring developments surrounding the Nipah virus as concerns grow over its high fatality rate. While the threat to the Caribbean is currently assessed as low, officials say vigilance remains critical following confirmed cases in India. In St. Lucia, surveillance has been heightened at ports of entry alongside preparedness measures across the health sector. Samples, if required, will be sent to the Caribbean Public Health Agency for confirmatory testing.
While the threat of the zoonotic Nipah virus to the Caribbean is currently deemed low, its high fatality rate remains a point of serious concern for regional authorities. Existing data indicates that while outbreaks have emerged across Asia, the virus has not yet been recorded beyond that continent.
As of January 13th, 2026, 2 cases of the Nipah virus has been confirmed in Kolkata, West Bengal State, India. Although in the past, outbreaks have been noted within the Asian continent, however, human outbreaks have not been noted outside of that region. The risk of the Nipah virus to the Caribbean region is designated at low at this time.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belma-George detailed the clinical progression of the illness during a recent press briefing. She noted that advanced infections can manifest as acute encephalitis, resulting in brain swelling, seizures, and a state of coma.
The Nipah virus is a zoonotic virus, that is a virus that's transmitted from animals to humans, which was first identified in 1999 during outbreaks among pig farmers in Malaysia and Singapore. The natural host is fruit bats, with the main vectors being pigs and contaminated fruit soiled by infected animals. It can also be transmitted directly from person to person through close contact with an infected person. The incubation period is typically 4 to 14 days. The symptoms of this virus in humans range from asymptomatic to acute respiratory distress and fatal encephalitis, that is brain swelling. The illness usually commences with fever, headache, muscle pain, vomiting, and sore throat. The severe cases progress to seizures, encephalitis, and coma within 24 to 48 hours. The Nipah virus has a high fatality rate of 40 to 75%, and there are no approved vaccines nor therapeutics to treat this virus.
Public health experts explain that even with a low-risk assessment, St. Lucia must remain vigilant because the island's primary tourism hubs, the United States and the United Kingdom, are leading destinations for travelers from India. A secondary transmission route remains a mathematical possibility. Consequently, local officials are heightening surveillance protocols at all national ports of entry.
St. Lucia is ensuring that the level of preparedness to manage possible importation and outbreaks in country, which includes the following: surveillance at the ports and health institutions, collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture and the veterinary departments, communication and education sessions for healthcare workers, the tourism sector, the education sector, and the general public. Prevention and risk reduction, the enhancement of infection control measures at the health institutions, early identification through testing capacity, and isolation measures when necessary.
Currently, the island lacks the infrastructure for local confirmatory testing. However, samples can be fast-tracked to the Caribbean Public Health Agency CAFA reference lab. The Ministry of Health has committed to a policy of transparent monitoring and will issue periodic briefings as new global data becomes available. Gina Filippi, HTS News Force.
In sports, we kick off with football, with Premier League action. Jamaica Premier League leaders Montego Bay United preserved their 7-point cushion at the top of the standings on Sunday, edging defending champions Cavalier FC 1-0, while former champions Mount Pleasant FA reignited their title push with a commanding 4-0 victory over Dumbarton FC in second round action. After being held to back-to-back 0-all draws by Treasure Beach FC, Mount Pleasant returned to winning ways but stayed in third place on 41 points, 2 more than Portmore United and 1 point behind second place Racing United, who beat Malines United 1-0 on Sunday. Waterhouse FC's 4-game winning run ended after they were held 1-1 by Tivoli Gardens. Spanish Town Police edged Harborview FC 1-0. Carlington Blackwood scored the winner in the 70th minute, their second win in 3 games, which lessened the gap between them and Harborview to 1 point. Over now to cricket. The West Indies dominated Nepal from start to finish on Sunday, securing their spot in the Super 8s of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup with a commanding 9-wicket victory in Mumbai. Nasir Mohammed has more in this story.
The West Indies put on a clinical display to crush Nepal by 9 wickets and confirm their place in the Super 8s of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup. From the very first over, the Caribbean side were in complete control. Matthew Ford set the tone with brilliant new ball bowling, swinging and seaming the ball past Nepal's batters. Jason Holder was equally impressive, finishing with 4 for 27. Nepal struggled throughout, slumping to 22 for 3 in the power play, the lowest score at that stage by any team in this tournament. Only Dipindra Singh Irie showed resistance, fighting his way to a gritty half-century, just the second by a Nepal batter in T20 World Cup history. But 133 for 8 was never going to trouble this West Indies batting lineup. Captain Shea Hope anchored the chase beautifully, finding his rhythm with a fluent 50 after a quiet start to the tournament. Shimron Hetmyer provided the fireworks, smashing boundaries at will as the West Indies raced to their target in just the 16th over. With 3 wins from 3 matches, the West Indies are peaking at precisely the right moment as they march into the Super 8s. Nasira Mohammed, TTT Sport.
And that's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.